YouTube channel How Ridiculous are some of the biggest creators on the platform, but you don't really see them promoted like other channels are. They're actually incredibly rich and some of the biggest money earners on the platform. Today we'll discuss how ridiculous channels are and how they are so much richer than you thought. First up, who are How Ridiculous? How Ridiculous are a popular YouTube channel whose content consists of doing some insane stunts and very interesting experiments. They rose to fame due to their trick-shotting videos and their career skyrocketed from then on. They were designed for a younger audience, a teen-based one really. They've become some of the biggest creators on the platform but aren't as well known as you'd think they'd be. Because of this popularity, they have also gained lots of money throughout their careers. How Ridiculous are some of the cooler people on the platform are as well. They really stand out amongst everyone else. Next up is net worth. How Ridiculous channel is so popular that they've earned an astonishing amount of money. Their net worth is estimated at around $2.6 million. This is because of all the money they make each year. Their videos do really well in the algorithm, especially in something like YouTube Kids. YouTube Kids is an app especially designed for children to browse the platform on. Their videos really fit with the mentality of this app, so their videos are shown all over it. Their content just really fits well with children and how they interact with videos. They just sit and watch video after video on an endless cycle. Next up is, how do they make their money? So, how do they make so much money? Well, first of all, they're part of the YouTube Partner Program. This means that they gain money from their videos through adding advertisements onto their videos. They're also part of the Google program under the same name. This again also allows them to monetize their videos. This means that they gain money when people watch all the ads on the videos. This makes them lots of money, especially on the YouTube Kids app. This app doesn't have any ad blocker, so these children watch the ads, and the channel makes lots of money. Next up is public reception. Even though you don't really see them much in YouTube news or drama, these guys are insanely popular. They're actually some of the biggest people on the platform, and they gain so many views every day and on every video they release. They're some of the most underrated channels on the platform as they just don't pop up as much for most people. Everyone will have seen one of their videos at some point as they've been around since the early days of YouTube. When they're brought up, other YouTubers talk highly of them and praise their amazing content. YouTube marketing. Another thing that really makes them so much money is how YouTube markets its videos. They do this in a few ways. One is the trending tab at the app or webpage. This is a section of the platform where YouTube themselves select videos that have recently been released and highlights them in different sections. There are sections for each type of video and also a generic trending as well. How Ridiculous content appears here quite often, but people don't really talk about it much. They also market their creators through YouTube content the company produces themselves, whether this is a feature on a channel or something like YouTube Rewind. This is why they have made so much money and are richer than you would think. Next up is brand deals. Outside of YouTube themselves, they'll also be creating connections with other companies. This is what we call a brand deal. A brand deal is where a creator or group will make a connection with a company, and the company will pay the creator to advertise their product. Whether it's Raycon earbuds, Manscaped, or even something like Fanta, these brand deals are all over the platform and are what allow YouTubers like How Ridiculous to create such out there content. It funds them even if YouTube doesn't. It's a great system. Next up is taking over a market. This content is very specific and has really taken over the market they've found themselves in. The sort of content that they produce is really only done well by people like them, as it takes a huge budget and some investment to make it work. At one point, their content was being recreated by so many people that phase died out. Nowadays, they're really the only people who create trick shot and interesting content in that realm. They really have taken over that market and made it their own. This is why they rake in so much money. They're the only ones who can supply this content. Next up is finding a niche. Following on from the previous part, they've basically found a niche in the system. YouTube is no longer about prank videos and insane content like it used to be. That sort of content has really been phased out as everyone was doing it at one point. Nowadays, there are only really a few channels that do this sort of thing. How Ridiculous is the only one who's popular enough to even have a list like this. They found a niche in the market market and are taking over their area. They are the only ones running that show, and they continue to make more and more money. YouTube isn't in any state to have lots of creators doing content like this. It's not the early 2010s anymore. They now stand out amongst the rest. Next up is how they compare to others on the platform. Compared to other creators on the platform, they're still pretty high up there in subscribers and active viewers. As of the writing of this video, they have around 6.38 million subscribers on their main channel. This is definitely in the top % of channels even nowadays. They're definitely no PewDiePie or Sidemen, but they have a substantial subscriber base. They've raked in over 1.1 billion views on their channel as of 2021, so they're really up there. They just don't see love as much as other channels nowadays, which is a shame. And finally, how do they fit long term? They may be making so much money, but long term, how will they survive? YouTube is shown to be an ever-changing environment where content will start, become popular, then die out over time. Look at the prank scene of 2015 to 2016. It was very niche at first, then became popular, and now is basically gone. However, How Ridiculous have proven that even if the content they release has died down in popularity, they can still survive. Even recently, MrBeast has brought back their sort of content, so they're going to become even more popular. They're here to stay and will be rich for a long time to come. That is the end of this list. It really shows you just how rich YouTubers can be nowadays. Only about a decade ago, YouTube was still in its infant stages. People were being paid directly from YouTube themselves, and 1 million subscriber channels were some of the biggest on the platform. The entire platform has changed over time, and it's had so many variations and trends go through it. But one major thing that you can take away from How Ridiculous is that they're a channel who will just stick around. They may not be as popular as they once were, they may not be in everyone's eyes anymore, but they're still popular enough. They're still raking in the money and have a higher net worth than most of the platform. How Ridiculous has a style that no one can really match anymore. YouTube has so many different sections, from pranks, gaming, makeup, and commentary, etc. Each platform has some top dogs amongst them, like KSI, PewDiePie, or James Charles. But they're also in competition with everyone else around them. There are so many people creating those sorts of videos that at one point, it's really hard to stand out. At this point in YouTube's life, it's not exactly hard for How Ridiculous to stand out at all in their field. They're really the only people creating content like they do. The main thing they struggle with is standing out amongst the other sections. YouTube gets most of its views from gaming, makeup, and politics nowadays. Those sorts of channels are on the rise, especially gaming. It's recently made a huge comeback and is raking in the money for its creators. How Ridiculous, even amongst all of that, they're still making so much money. It's actually unbelievable that a channel most don't see anymore is still doing so well. That's why they're so much richer than you might have thought. And that's the end of the video. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Make sure to like and subscribe with notifications on. Thanks for watching.